freaking first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? We are here with your round 4 recap for this week's Byron Nelson, along with a preview for next week's PGA Championship. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to start right now. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman. Joining me to break down everything that went down at the AT&T Byron Nelson and officially declare it PGA Championship week. Greg DuCharme is here. What's going on, Greg?
I'll tell you, Rick, if we break down everything that happened at the Byron Nelson and a PGA Championship preview, we're in for a long night. But I'm fired up for it. I can't wait.
Every single birdie. We have to talk about every single one that was made around TPC Craig Ranch this week. Might take a while. Mark Immelman is here. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Good to be in air conditioning in the hotel. Good to be with your crowd. It was a fun week.
KH Lee does it again. TPC Lee, Greg. TPC Lee defends his title, 25 under par last year. Ho-hum, 26 under this time around. In the last 364 days since his victory, he's had exactly one top 10 finish. He just went out and did it.
It was amazing. He came out really strong in round 1 as well, which I thought was huge to get out there in 64, stay in touch with the lead. And then a couple of nice rounds. Not a lot of mistakes on his card. Only 3 bogeys for the entire week, which is a big deal. You got 3 bogeys and 2 eagles, so not too bad there. And that's how you get to 26 under, I guess. All you need to do is make not a lot of bogeys, couple eagles, and a pile of birdies, which is exactly what he have. He had 25 birdies for the week. So that's going to help his birdie average. It might keep him afloat in the birdie average category for the rest of the year because it was really impressive.
It was a 63 on Sunday, Mark, highlighted by the eagle on 12. He makes another birdie on 13 and another on 18 coming in. He had a big par save along the way as well. Must be a lot of serious confidence and a lot of good vibes when KH Lee shows up at TPC Craig Ranch.
Yeah, I mean, Greg sort of made it sound easy when you just got to make a whole bunch of birdies and eagles and stuff, but you still got to do it because you look at the other side of the field and there weren't many over par scores, but still, if you weren't hitting the ball in the right place on these segmented greens, doesn't necessarily it was going to be a birdie bonanza. But I'll tell you what, covering KH Lee today, playing alongside Justin Thomas, just for the record, who casts a pretty long shadow. It's sort of, playing alongside a Spieth or someone like that. KH Lee didn't look phased at all. And I almost had to look back in the records to confirm that this guy was coming in here off 3 missed cuts because he just looked like he had it on repeat off the tee. It was rinse, repeat, down the middle, same thing every single time. The iron game was well controlled. The distance, the irons were great. And he had a number of shots that I think on TV, you couldn't really appreciate how good they really were. Now, if he was in the final group, we might have camped on them a little while longer and we could have discussed this stuff. But you talk about that eagle on the par 5 12th. I mean, right before him, JT, just from the first cut, hits this 5-wood that he carves up against the wind. I mean, it was just freaking sexy. All right. And then off a downsloping lie to a green that's narrow, trouble left. If you miss, it's a short side. KH turns the draw off a downhill lie in there to about 5 feet. And when he hit that shot, I'm like, this boy is for real. And he just did everything right. And then, of course, that save he made on 17 was a little unfortunate because I felt like he had the perfect club 9-iron coming in there. And as he hit, he got gusted really badly. And the ball hit and then came back to that spot. And to make that putt, I think, was almost earned. Nothing's ever deserved, but he had done all the hard work. So to knock that one down, I feel like it was sort of a check in his column because he had not done anything wrong. And then to get gusted and kind of have the tournament maybe hang on that shot would have been very unfortunate. Anyway, so he gets by the 17th and then carves that fairway medal into 18 to the right hand, to the correct plateau again. I mean, that was just downright. That's what Tiger Woods and people do. And yes, KH Lee, missed all these cuts, only one victory in his resume, and looked like he had done this thousands of times before coming down the final round there.
Yeah, statistically, Greg, fifth in the field in strokes gained tee to green. He obviously piled on a couple with the putter as well. This is not what KH Lee's been up to for the last 6 or 8 months. I mean, I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know if he just happened to find something around TPC Craig Ranch, but the stat profile that we saw for him this week in route to victory at 100-1 was not the stat profile that we've seen from him throughout the year.
No, and it was not the stat profile you saw from him coming into last week. So we talked about this all week long. The guys last year at Craig Ranch, how they came in great form with their iron play in particular. And KH Lee lost in it must have been 15 or 20 straight events before the Wells Fargo. He gained 2 strokes approaching the green at the Wells Fargo. And all of a sudden this week, he has a great week. He's 8th in that category, hits 55 greens. But the statistical thing that I really wanted to point out was what we talked about last night. And he was in the mix last night, but he was kind of fitting the model. Every area of his game had been really strong, and he hadn't had a good putting day yet. And that's why alongside the blue chip contenders, if you will, who we really liked, KH Lee was the other guy. He was the long shot on the board at 40 or 35 or 40-1, who we thought would be a nice play because he won last year and because he hadn't had that good putting day yet. And today he did. He gained 3 strokes on the greens today. He was 4th in total. Mark did a nice job outlining some of those shots, the clutch shots. The one at 18 really stood out to me. That was just sweet. And you kind of knew he won when he hit that shot. And then, but what he did on the greens today was really the difference maker, and the reason he won back-to-back AT&T Byron Nelsons.
What I think the most impressive thing that I saw from KH Lee on Sunday, Mark, was just his ability to emerge. When they were at 20 under, when the lead was at 20 under, 8 different golfers were tied at the top. I mean, it was just chaos. And you had Xander flying up the leaderboard. You had Hideki making a move. You still had, at that point, Spieth and JT and Neiman lurking, and Munoz is hanging in there. And there's just chaos out there. And the man that emerges is going to do it in impressive fashion. And that happened to be KH Lee. But it was by no means a small task for him to break through from the pack.
No, and I think a lot of that, we can talk about statistics and the way he hit the ball and all that sort of stuff. But to me, and I highlighted it on the one hole we came to him, and he just looked like he never looked phased. There was never any panic going on. Oftentimes when you get into contention and just get into contention, period, let alone not having played very well coming into that and having a tough season. And, we're almost on the back end of things now. So for someone who's outside the 125, you started thinking about, keeping your card, getting into the playoffs and stuff. But he just looked so calm, and he never looked phased, and he made the right decision, really, I thought, the entire time. The only time that there was a poor decision made was on 17 when his new caddy, Daniel, who had been on the back for 2 weeks, caddied for Ben Ahn before this, talked him basically into 9-iron, where JT before him had sort of, feathered this 9-iron through the wind there in there close. And Daniel was saying, go 9-iron. And then KH wanted to hit 8-iron beyond the flag, and it came up short. Otherwise, I thought it was faultless mentally. And that's what was so impressive too, because you're right. You look at the leaderboard, and it was kind of a who's who with Hideki and Jordan and Matsuyama and Schauffele, and of course Justin Thomas was there. It was everywhere you turn, there were top flight players around the golf course where it was all to be had, and he never looked flustered at all. And that to me was probably the most important thing I noticed about his performance over the last what do we cover them for, like 12 holes.
I like that. Getting a little bit of a bonus your second week on the job. That's always fun at any profession. Greg, kind of looking at this now, KH Lee has solidified his spot in the FedEx Cup standings. He's going to be 28th in the FedEx Cup standings. I think he's going to move. Nosferatu tweeted this out. I'll have to check. I think he's going to be 41st in the official World Golf Rankings. I can confirm that, and we talk about it all the time. If you play this well, you tap into the ceiling once a year, like we've seen Jim Herman do, and we've seen Kevin Na do, and we've seen now maybe KH Lee is going to start doing. Very good for job security.
It is very good for job security. And the way that the FedEx Cup point system, official World Golf Rankings, all the ranking systems, they're very top heavy in their rewards. And when you finish, I mean, honestly, that's what makes a player like Matt Kuchar, who just consistently finished inside the top 25 seemingly every week. I mean, he ended up winning a lot more than he's kind of known for, but he's known for being that consistent, steady player. What he's able to do is so impressive. But when you're able to close the deal and get victories out there, the rewards are significant. I mean, they really are. The difference between, you're talking about a 200-point difference between first and second. And when you can do, and then the 2-year exemption on top of it, and Century Tournament of Champions, I wonder if that top 50 now that we have seemingly much fewer WGC events, and it kind of seemed, based on something Tiger said earlier, it seems like they're kind of going away. I wonder if that top 50 mark is still going to be as important for guys to stay in there. I know you have majors, which are obviously a big deal, but it seems like that number's kind of been reduced a little bit. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But nonetheless, the 2-year exemption and the Century Tournament of Champions and getting into major championships, this is a big deal, and it gives you opportunity going forward, where if you come in second place, those opportunities are squandered and the pressure rises. So, another player that I think back to lastly would be Max Homa. In 2019, when he got his first win at the Wells Fargo. He had been a very inconsistent player before that. And the next year or the early part of 2020, I guess, he started to rattle off some really consistent performance, and he kind of shifted. And I wonder if that job security, that blanket, kind of allowed that. So I wonder with KH Lee, once he's had this second crack at it, if it'll give him a extra boost of confidence and allow him to relax and allow him to perform at the level he's capable of.
Hey, Rick, if I can just touch that World Golf Ranking comment that Greg made. Yeah, you're right, Greg, with the fewer WGC events, the World Golf, the world rankings might have diminished some. But I'll tell you one thing, you're going to see a lot more volatility in them, because when there were so many WGC events that were guaranteed paydays and guaranteed points and stuff like that, the top 65 kind of perpetuated itself if you just stayed inside there, because there were all these guaranteed no-cut events. But nowadays, they're very, very important for all of these guys, because all of their contracts are based on world ranking points and where you are in the world and stuff. So financially, it's still a very, very lucrative thing and very important for these guys to get inside of the top 50, certainly. Not just, and then of course you got the major championships like the Masters and stuff, which require inside top 50. KH doesn't have to worry about that now with a victory, but it's the rankings are still something the guys pay attention to.
Awesome stuff. Well, big congrats to KH Lee defending his crown at the AT&T Byron Nelson. And gentlemen, I want to talk about some of the guys in the chase pack, but they're going to be a big storyline for next week's PGA Championship. So I'm doing it. I'm doing it early. I'm officially declaring it PGA Championship week. We'll talk about the guys finished behind KH Lee and how their chances look for Southern Hills. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Don't forget to download the official app of the PGA Championship. You can find it in the App Store or on Google Play. The app provides fans both on-site and watching from home an in-depth experience as the strongest major championship field in men's golf takes on Southern Hills Country Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Gentlemen, let's jump into this. Greg, a little bit of a teaser here. Southern Hills, it's gone through the restoration. We're hearing just kind of how difficult it's going to be and how the weather and the forecast might make it even harder. I think it's safe to say we will not get to 26 under par at the PGA Championship. Now, can I say that? Is that safe to say?
I think it's very fair to say. And I'm excited to get into the golf course more as the week progresses. Tomorrow night on Course Record, we're going to have Gil Hands on, who redid the golf course since we saw it in 2007. We did see it last year, but it wasn't a PGA of America, PGA Championship setup rather. Alex Checo won last year there. But I'm very excited to see how these changes play out. From what I've heard, they've taken out a number of trees, which was kind of a staple of the tournament in the past. It was very crowded, a very narrow feeling with trees, and being played in August, you had some really thick Bermuda grass rough that was very difficult to get out of in advance. And it sounds like that's going to be, you're going to see a little bit less of that. And I also heard that the greens aren't going to get crazy. They're not going to get much faster than they are for normal play, which you do have some undulating Perry Maxwell greens, which and basically the reason for that is it opens up some hole locations. So while you may see some greens that are hard to say it's slower, but not crazy fast greens, it is going to get some hole locations in more difficult spots. So there are some things that kind of contradict one another or play the opposite side of the card, where you have fewer trees, which makes the fairways were widened as well. You have fairways that are in the 40-yard range and width, but now you also have crosswinds. Apparently, it's a report that I'm hearing. So it's kind of like, easier on this side, harder on this side, easier on this side, harder on this side. And I can't wait as the week progresses to really hear some players talk about it and hear some insights from Gil tomorrow again, and hear all these different thoughts, because I think it's going to be really interesting to find out what the ideal model is going to be.
Well, one of the big storylines heading into Southern Hills is going to be Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth. You say his name 3 times. Kyle Porter shows up. KP, welcome in.
It's like a Harry Potter trick. I was watching Harry Potter on Friday night with my daughter, and there's a character in there named Seamus Finnegan, and I asked her if I couldn't remember his last name, and I asked her if his name was Seamus Power, and I was kind of embarrassed about that. So anyway, Spieth, here we are.
Seamus Power would be a great name for like a
wizard.
What are the people? What are they? Oh, wizards. Yeah, like
wizards.
Like
For
little
sure.
powers, little tricks that they do.
Yes, 100%.
Kyle, Jordan Spieth finished second.
Yes.
He finished 1 shot behind KH Lee. He 3-putted from 7 feet, notably on Sunday. That's probably the image that we'll see on Twitter. But overall, played great. He's going to go into Southern Hills with a win and a runner-up finish, but it a little bit feels like this one got away from him.
For sure. I mean, the 3-putt was not good. Do we have to like budget that into his tournaments now? Like he's just going to miss one of those?
Seemingly.
It kind of feels like that's just in the budget. And I think it was less like, it occasionally shot 63. So it's not like Spieth like gave it away. It felt more awkward at the end than anything, because like everybody obviously wanted him to win and he wanted to win. And it was like he was in the last group. Lee had already finished. And it was like, well, maybe next year. Like it just like there was just like an awkwardness to the way that it all ended. But I think if you're rooting for Spieth, you have to be excited about next week, right? Like I don't know if he's going to win, but to finish, not just to win RBC and to finish second here, but from tee to green, he was first at RBC and second here. So the exact spots that he finished on the leaderboard also. He's hitting the ball great. He's driving it well. He's hitting shots. I read his transcript afterwards. It was really interesting. He was talking about how he had the 9-iron on 17 and then the 3-wood that he hit into 18. He's like, I don't really have those shots. Like, they're not shots that I practice, but I knew I needed to hit him under the gun and in competition. And so I just stepped up with a ton of confidence and hit him. And that is not the Spieth that's not how he was playing a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So I'm pumped about next week. I think he has a real chance to finish off the Slam. I don't know if he'll win it, but I would be shocked if he wasn't in contention.
Well, perfect segue there, Mark, because there's going to be a lot of other storylines. Tiger and Phil and Scotty and Rory and what everybody else is doing. We are one Jordan Spieth victory away from adding a sixth name to the list of golfers who have completed the modern career Grand Slam. And when you enter the week with a win, with a runner-up finish, and you're 20-1, it's not all that unlikely.
No, it really isn't. And the thing that jumps out to me is how confident Jordan appears. Because just a little while back, I mean, it feels to me just like a matter of months, really, that when he got to a golf course and you were watching him on a range, especially prior to a major championship, that he and Cameron McCormick were grafting, and I mean grinding, where, the rest of the crowd, they're sort of ironing out wrinkles and tightening things up, where it was always really, really hard work. But right now, Jordan looks like he's completely in control of stuff. And, I wouldn't stress the odd miss that he's going to have. Everyone's going to do it. It's just the timing of that miss that it's been a bit unfortunate, because everyone's going to miss putts. I remember, back in the day, Phil Mickelson was notorious for it. And then the days that he didn't were the days that he eventually knocked off the 5 major championships. So for Spieth, there's a whole lot of confidence going on. I think if there's something that is going to make life a little harder, is all of the blue chip guys, all the contenders, are all playing pretty well right now. Yeah. Matsuyama, Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson flashed glimpses of stuff this week. Scotty Scheffler, I mean, he put together a really quiet performance under the radar here in Dallas this week, and he's the reigning world's number one. Won 4 of his last 7 now, and the story was all Jordan Spieth this week, and a little bit of Munoz, if you will. So for Jordan, I think the confidence is really cool. It's cool to see, because it's not often that a player is that confident, because it's such a fickle game. But it's going to be a tremendous event around a great golf course next week, because there's so many guys that are coming in here on good form. And when you've got a situation like that, you can sort of toss the form guide out of the window, because around a good golf course, come the 4th round, they're going to find their way to the top of that thing. So it's going to be wild, and I think just as exciting as what this last week was.
Good time to be getting hot, Greg. Good time to be getting hot.
Yeah. And I think there's a little more to it than that too, because this isn't peak Jordan, which is why, it's one of the reasons why I thought this could be a really good week for him. Even though he was coming off a win at the RBC Heritage. Sometimes guys win and it's the peak, and then you see an exhale on the other side. But when Jordan won at the RBC, it felt like there was still something missing. There was a big element of his game that needed work. And even when you listen to him talk about it afterwards, comments like, I just won this with no putter. I changed my practice mindset going into this week and put a lot more attention into putting. Those kind of things lead me to believe that he felt, although he won, and that's great, he hadn't done anything yet, right? He wasn't done. There was still something, a carrot dangling in front of him to keep him hungry. And I feel that we're still in that position now. Now he's coming off of a 2nd place finish, a near victory, and he's got to be feeling really hungry now heading into next week too. So we're peaking, but we're not at the peak yet. And it seems like the perfect time for Jordan to jump up and do it. And then I also think, in regards to his other attempts at the PGA, at the career Grand Slam, this is as good as he's looked coming in. I mean, in 2017, it's hard to say he wasn't better. He had 2 wins in his last 3 starts there. It was really good then too. And in last year, he was in really good form coming in as well. But the golf course just last year, maybe Quail Hollow too, they're not great setups for him. And I have a feeling this Midwestern venue is one that's, and I can't wait to find out more about Southern Hills. But from what I hear, what I think, I don't think it's going to be as big a golf course as Kiowa. Definitely not on the scorecard. And I think some guys that are not quite that long. And Jordan's longer this year too, but I think some guys of his distance are going to have a better chance this week. So I think this is as good a chance he's had since 2017.
Rick, do you have more confidence in Spieth or Morikawa winning the PGA?
Ooh. So God, that's pretty good. Winning the PGA.
The tournament next week.
I know, but like if like finishing T6 or better, Morikawa. Winning?
Okay.
Spieth.
Yeah. I like
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but
Are you worried about Morikawa having 3 weeks, three off weeks in a row?
No.
Yeah.
I don't care about that stuff. They're not sitting at home eating bonbons on the couch watching Netflix. They're playing golf and like getting their stuff in order.
Yeah. That doesn't get me real worked up.
I'm going to say this to you. There's one Justin Thomas that I got to cover today that is seriously having me consider my one and done plans for the rest of the season with next week on the horizon.
Let me tee you up here, Mark. Let me tee you up here. 67 on Sunday, 5 under par. He finishes at 23 under, 3 shots off the lead. He had it going. He gave one back on 13 with a bogey. Otherwise, it was a pretty good week. JT continues to knock on the door, knock on the door, knock on the door. It hasn't opened yet, but he's getting close.
Yeah, it looked to me really flush today. There was a poor swing he made with a driver that got fortunate up 11 that kicked into the fairway, and then the approach shot there into 13 was also poor, but it was an uncomfortable shot where the ball slightly below your feet and you've got a crosswind over your left shoulder, which is always hard for a right-handed golfer, and you're trying to attack this back right hole location because you're chasing. If that was a major championship, Justin Thomas is hitting that thing 15, 20 feet left of the flag with a 7-iron and giving his putter a chance. But we were in the midst of a birdie bonanza. So it was kind of a shot that maybe, like Kyle points out, was a little uncomfortable in any other situation, like a major, like a PGA. You don't go ahead and attack with 7-iron, which he did, and then he fanned it in the bunker and he was dead there, and so makes bogey. But from then just turned around, and that drive, man, that he hit into the 14th down the hill. And this is what turned my head because – I'm going to see the golf course Tuesday morning, but Greg says that Gil Hans says some of the fairways are wider. He had a tee shot down 14 with a wind in from the right that hit this thing sort of like a fairway finding sort of hard cut against the breeze and found that back quadrant, which is the size of my hotel room. I mean, it's minute. And when I hit that thing, I was like, hello. And every putt he hit was sort of dripping around the hole, and it just never looked like he was breaking a sweat. And then the 18th hole, he's got that 5-wood in there, and he just chops this thing up against the breeze and got really unfortunate. It didn't find the top plateau because, we all know he's good. But to me, you always hang your hat on his iron game. He was complete, the guy I watched him play today. And if this was a major championship, he would have approached the round a little different. And then I think the results might have been a bit different too.
Mark, what if I told you he lost strokes from tee to green today?
Oh, please. Really?
He did.
Oh,
but
most of it, really?
Most of it was around the green. So ball striking, he was really good. And that was, I think JT, and I don't know if we're going to talk about Hideki in a minute, but those two guys, I was on the media conference call this week, and Dottie Pepper was talking about how, and maybe we discussed this on Thursday, Rick, but how the greens at Southern Hills are big, but the landing spots are small. And I couldn't stop thinking about that as I'm watching JT and Hideki play the Byron Nelson on this weekend, right? Because those are two guys that can just drop it down a silo and put it wherever you want on greens like that. So I'm with Mark. I mean, I'm super excited about JT. This is one of my 10 storylines. Like, JT needs to, and he's said this, so this is not, I'm not like calling him out. Like, this is not breaking news. He needs to contend in majors. Like, when has he contended at a major? The one he won at Quail Hollow. And what else? Aaron Hills, kind of, when he shot 63 there on Saturday. He finished T9. He was in it, but where else has he contended? Like, he's too good, and he's had two impressive of a career to not be in contention at major championships. And I think that's going to be, for me, one of the big storylines going into all three of these majors the rest of the year.
Hey, I was just quickly going through my head quickly because I'm still flabbergasted at that strokes gained comment. He hit 3 pitch shots when I was with him. The first one was on 9, and he had an into the grain sort of a Zoysia lie that he couldn't pick the ball like he normally does with that wedge, where he just sort of clips the legs out from underneath it and floats one in there. So the club stuck in the ground. The ball went a little too far for him. Then he was dead in a bunker on 13. And then there was another situation. It slips my mind right now. On 18, where he hits this perfect 5-wood in there that stands up against the breeze. He's on the front edge of the green, but on a really tight lie. And you can't nip it underneath there too. So he's trying to bump something in there a little lower. So the 3 shots he had greenside were all high degree of difficulty, of difficult lies. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised at that he didn't get them up and down, really, to be honest. He did one, the 1 on 9.
Yeah, the bunker shot alone probably cost him 3/4. Yeah, probably cost him 3/4 of a stroke. Greg, you get the round of the day here. Xander Schauffele shoots a 61, 11 under. Post the early clubhouse lead, but I'm sure he did not wait around. I'm sure he fired up the jet and got out of town because it was never going to hold in these scoring conditions. But that is just enough Xander at the time to get us all hot and bothered about him next week.
Yeah, I mean, well, real quick on JT, lastly, he did make a putter change. There's a different neck on his putter, which I'm very curious about, and I'll find out more about that later this week. John Graham, actually, his putting coach, is going to join us on the radio show on Sirius XM on Tuesday. So I'll find out more, and if you can't listen, I'll definitely report back. But to Xander, this was not just an impressive Sunday round of 61, and not just an impressive Saturday round of 65, which he was bogey free both days. But Friday's round was just awesome. And I know I don't even think we talked about it. Definitely not last night, but it was a lackluster day on Thursday, and he's 3 over par through 3 holes. And all of a sudden the guy barely makes a cut on the number, and he has to make 8 birdies to make the cut on the number, and does it. It was incredible. And now he finishes the event tied 5th. So look, it definitely gets you hot and bothered for Xander coming into this one. There's no question about it. His record in majors is very good. The PGA is not quite as good as a US Open, but this is a guy with a really, really, really well-rounded game. And the thing I'm always looking for with Xander is the spark. Where are we going to see that spark fly, or are we going to see a lackluster performance out of him? And this happens all the time with guys that are kind of stoic in their personality, like a Cantlay and a DJ. And, it looks like they don't care when they don't play well. But when you have that spark and the birdies start flying, the excitement's there, the energy's there. And his confidence has got to be extremely high after this week.
Yeah, I would say I found the spark. This guy was 3 over par at one stage early in this tournament, and then he went bananas over the final, certainly today and yesterday as well. And I was just, if you're a player, I was proud of Xander for the way he gamed the thing out, just to make sure he got some weekend action, because he could have just packed it in right away and said, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to Southern Hills. But he fought his way through it, and I'm really excited for him because he found a little something. Because these golf courses, in a way, under the conditions, temperature-wise, are going to sort of play a little bit the same to me, even though it'll be firmer and that sort of thing, bar weather coming in there next week. So the fact that he battled the way he did to get himself some weekend contention and become relevant, because even though you're well out in front there, and you're not in the midst of the battle for the title, you're feeling it when you see your name on top of the leaderboard and you got cameras around you and stuff. He realized he was in contention, maybe out of it. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'd be paying a little attention to what Xander was up to for next week too, Rick.
22-1, according to our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook. If the golf tournament was only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he would have won it by 2 shots over Davis Riley. Unfortunately for Xander, they also count Thursday's score. KP, Hideki Matsuyama, who you brought up just a moment ago, went out and shot a Sunday 62. I have seen enough. I saw enough on Thursday. Thursday morning, he went out, played well. He looked healthy. I bet him for next week already at 45-1, and I couldn't even have imagined how much better it was going to get over the course of the week. I'm thrilled to have a Hideki ticket in my pocket heading into next week.
You should be, and we talked about this on Thursday. You can pull the tape over what I said. I said I don't really like him at the Byron Nelson.
Well, you were right. He didn't win.
Fantastic take there. And the reason I didn't like him is because it's too easy of a course. Like, he thrives when the courses get more and more difficult, and so that's why you should be excited about Southern Hills. Hideki's having a really low key great season.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
When he's played awesome.
Yeah, this was his 5th top 10. He's got 2 wins. He finished T14 at the Masters. The only thing that's kind of upended him is the neck, back, whatever's going on, the injury that he's had. And man, I'm excited about Hideki next week. I think, like we were talking about, him and JT. You think about other guys that have that kind of high ball, like Morikawa, those are the guys that really excite me, kind of navigating these greens at a revamped Southern Hills.
Hey, just quickly, Rick, we talked about him, I think it was when we did the recap Friday, and I watched him play a little bit, and to me, he hit the ball on the button every single time. I mean, they were flush. And the one thing technically about Matsuyama is, he used to have that big pause atop the swing, and he's got big, strong legs. And to me, with the pause, I felt like the legs ran away from him, and then he wouldn't get his right side around. Then you always see those one-handed follow-throughs that he sort of saves. There's less of that stuff going on, and he looks to me right now that he is so well-timed. And he's got control of the ball striking in the biggest way. So as is the case with a lot of these guys, if he can find a way on the greens, he's going to be relevant Sunday afternoon. I have no doubt.
Gained a stroke and a half putting at the Byron Nelson. He's gained with the putter in 1, 2, 3, 4 of his last 6, in 5 of his last 7. Things going well for Hideki and the flat stick. Gentlemen, I got to get Mark out of here in a couple minutes, but Tiger Woods has made an appearance at Southern Hills. And we've got the last 2 times he's been there, today and a couple of weeks ago. We've gotten great footage of it, Greg. We've got video action. They're not doing a great job keeping this close to the vest. We know Tiger's there. We know what the swing looks like. And he looks like he is obviously gearing up for a second crack at a major championship.
Absolutely. And a big story, and probably a really big advantage to Jordan Spieth and a Scotty Scheffler. It takes away some of the spotlight from those guys for sure. I mean, you got helicopters flying overhead when he's playing a practice round, right? It's insane. It's insanity. I heard there were people climbing up into the trees with video cameras, yelling to him and getting footage of them from outside the property. So would you
do that, Greg? Would you do that if you were on the street outside at Southern Hills and they said, "Oh, Tiger's right over there. Climb this tree and you can see him"?
He would.
No. I wouldn't be. Yeah, I would. If I knew I could see him hit a shot, yeah, of course I would. I've watched him hiding in the bushes plenty of times before, but it's just one of those things where the attention.
Hold on.
Were you the league medalist?
Priceless there.
I need more on that. I need more than 3 seconds on that.
Oh, well, I was trying to brush by that. I mean, look, you're on a driving range in Florida, and there's bushes all over the place, right? The range is covered with Florida foliage, and part of my job was to get golf balls out of the woods, and so there were some great vantage points from in there where you could see him hitting shots from like a profile view. Like, he used to hit these wedge shots to this one green, and I had this little spot I could go to. I'd get a perfect. I was like on the 50-yard line, and it looked like he would hit these things so thin. Like he'd blade them. It looked like they were going over the green. They'd land on the green, and the first bounce would be backwards. Was it just insane?
Big Al, you should have been watching out for alligators and stuff in the bushes, not Tiger Woods golf shots.
Yeah, it was more bobcats than gators out there.
Did you think they said go give balls to Woods instead of go get balls out of the woods?
No, it was a part of my regular routine. I had to make sure that when he was there, that's when I would go in the woods. And there was a time where I found a lot of his golf balls in the woods, and I was a little worried about it. And I never had the courage to go ask him why, to change his aim.
Smart.
Did it have the tiger? Were they the gamers? The tiger stamp?
No, they had practice on them,
Okay.
but it was his ball and everything.
Okay.
Which it was different than every other ball. And like they had Pro V1s and Pro V1Xs on the rim. Everybody except Tiger hit those. He hit his ball out there.
Carl, if there were Tiger stamps, you would have seen them on eBay. Greg would have been flogging those things.
You think I'd sell those things? No way.
Oh, Greg's got integrity.
They'd be right back here in this bookshelf.
Be selling them for clout in his
Right.
backdrop there.
Yeah, I would never sell them. Would I take one or two? No way.
Yeah. For sure.
But anyway, yes. So he's out there. He's playing. It's going to be great to see what he has. I expect this to be a step in the right direction. I think you're going to see a little more energy, a little more. I'm completely blanking on the word. I think stamina. I think you're going to see a little more stamina for a period of time out there, which will be great. And I don't expect him to contend, but I expect it to be a step in the right direction. And it's another rep. It's another competitive rep that I think will go a long way for him. I know you guys say he's been practicing like Colin Morikawa, but there's a difference when you get into the competitive ring. And we saw that at the Masters, and we're going to see it again this week. But it's a really important step if Tiger's going to ever win again.
He's going to need the stamina. He's going to need the enthusiasm. He's going to need the gusto. He's going to need the shots, Mark, because this is a full field event. It's deep. It's going to be difficult. He doesn't have that built-in couple of strokes around Augusta National like we might have saw a couple of weeks ago. I think it might be a tough task for him.
Look, it's going to be, but he's Tiger Woods, and I've talked him down at times before, and then he's proved me wrong. So I'm not going to scale that mountain one more time. I will say that the picture I saw of him standing beside the club professional, the director of golf that he played the practice round with, that right leg he was wearing that athletic sleeve or whatever it might have been, it looked weaker. Certainly, and it didn't look as strong as it should be. But again, it doesn't seem to take much load in the way he's swinging the golf club. What concerns me, once again, is the walk. And Augusta National was difficult. I'm keen to see how he does this week in Tulsa.
They don't call it Southern Hills because it's flat, KP. What do you think about Tiger this week?
Mostly what has been said. I think that I just got asked this on HQ, and I said I think a realistic expectation is makes the cut and maybe does a little better than at Augusta. Like I don't, again, like I think people are going to just lose their minds that Tiger's playing, and that's fine. But like he's not going to win. Like he's not in that category of player that's playing. Like he's just not there right now physically in every way. So I wonder how many tournaments in a row we go where it's celebrated that he just makes the cut and gets to the weekend, because I'm still there. Like I still think, like, if Tiger makes the cut at Southern Hills, that's super impressive to me. And I hope that other people, like, I hope that fans think that as well, and not that they're like, oh, Tiger's not winning. I don't know. I don't know if anybody will be like that, but it's extraordinarily impressive to just go play the majors and still make the cut against people that are playing all year and thriving and not rusty and everything else. So that's my expectation for him, is make the cut, maybe bang it around a little, mix it up on the weekend and see what happens.
All right, we'll see what happens. We've got our best bets and our one and done segment to do, but Mark, you have chosen the correct time to get out of here, because I'm coming for you, Mark.
Before I go, love you all. Remind me how far ahead I am, Rick, in the one and done league, please.
This is what we were trying to avoid.
A measly 950,000.
So let's call it $1 million, Right, cool. Love you. We'll see you next week.
That's second place finish in the PGA and a miscut for
Well,
Mark.
you guys better start picking right, Greg. How do you go with Adam Hadwin this week for Pete's sake?
This is a perfect golf course for him.
Yeah, see.
I'm done with him again.
That's Mark Immelman. You can find him on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. Mark, good luck. See ya. We'll catch you. We'll be back after a quick word from our partners. And we're back. Best bets. Best bets. Wow, Mark did choose a great time to leave. Johnny Vegas, best rest of the world, 11-1. No. Will Zalatoris, top 20. No. Me, Lonto Griffin, top. Lonto, how did Lonto Greg not finish inside the top 20? First of all, he was T6 on Friday.
Yeah, he was playing great. I was so happy with him. Where did he end up finishing?
He ended up finishing T51. He shot 72-68 on the weekend. That's not going to cut it.
Oh, so disappointing.
Kyle, you went up against the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, and you took Justin Thomas, and you got him at plus money, and you cashed it. How about that, big dog?
Yeah, felt great. It felt a lot better than my one and done pick, which we'll get to in a second. But this was more of a play on the fact that JT is hitting it as good as Scheffler or better. And Scheffler's just, his short game's out of control. And that's a hard thing to sustain over a long period of time. And I hope he keeps sustaining it. I think it'd be awesome if he was able to take the Grand Slam into the U.S. Open at Brookline if he wins the PGA. But for this week, I felt like JT could clip him.
Scheffler's like a problem. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see where he finished, but he was tied for the lead in birdies through the first 3 rounds, which is obviously, you clean up a triple at a place you shouldn't even be making bogeys, let alone doubles or triples at, Greg. And like, Scotty's a problem.
He was 8th from tee to green.
Yeah. And he finished tied 15th, and it with a triple in this tournament. We make a triple in this tournament. It's really hard to come back from. Now the short game, to me, I think it is sustainable for him. The question is, it's sustainable that he performs around the green for a long time. Can you lean on it is the real question. Yeah. And I think as we get like this event, to me, you can't lean on it. You need your other areas of your game, like iron play and putting, to carry you in an event like this.
You're talking about the PGA or the...
No. I'm talking about the Byron Nelson. Yeah. Which is why I think that's a great bet, Kyle, because I think it makes a ton of sense. Now, next week, it's probably a different story. Short game's going to come into play a lot more. You're not going to see... I mean, everybody you click on in this tournament hits like 50... Like, Scotty hit 58 greens in regulation. This is about how close can you hit it and how many putts can you make. And next week, it's not going to be that way. So his well-rounded game, the full complement, tee to green and putting and included, is going to be on full display next week. But this is a different week to Byron Nelson.
Well, and I think that's why, like, I would be shocked. I'll say this right now, and we can talk about it on Tuesday. I'd be shocked if Scheffler finished outside the top 10 at Southern Hills, which is not like a brave take there, but he's finished in the top 20 in his last 7 majors and in the top 10 in 5 of them. And that, like, I always go back to this thing that JT said. I think he was on the No Laying Up podcast about how when your short game feels great at majors, you just are so freed up to hit it however you want to hit it, because you're like, I can get up and down from anywhere on this golf course. And that's how Scheffler feels right now. And maybe that doesn't work out. Maybe it goes poorly. But, man, the way that he's playing overall and the confidence that he has, I would be stunned if he finished outside the top 10. That might be my best bet next week, is Scheffler finishing inside the top 10.
Good tease for the mega preview pod on Tuesday. Coach had himself a good week. Not only was KH Lee his long shot 100-1, but he cashed this 4-1 ticket on Ryan Palmer to finish inside the top 20. So mental note, when we get to Craig Ranch next year, coach might have a little handicapping edge. You might have a good feel for the event, as they say. We'll have to keep an eye on that. One and done. Well, I can be pretty quick here. Jacob, Greg, the fans, Kyle, and Sia all missed the cut and got $0.
Okay.
KP, yours was Kurt Kitayama. which he'd been playing well, but I don't think you're too upset about taking a 0 from Kurt Kitayama in a week where Zalatoris and Burns would have also gotten you the same amount.
Yeah, I feel it's one of those that, like, if he misses a cut, you feel really foolish, and if he makes it and finishes top 10, you feel like a genius. So you're kind of playing both ends of the, like, your variance is high in terms of like how you feel afterward.
I like that, which I think is good. It's good for the emotional roller coaster that I like to live on. Sam Burns missing the cut for the fans. Ouchie mama. That'll be tough. Greg, you tried to defend Adam Hadwin to Mark there. He'd been playing well. Didn't get the job done this week.
No, I think it was I still think it was a fine pick. The thing that really bothers me is I was between Hadwin and Munoz. That was kind of my my go. I really liked Munoz heading into the week, and for a lot of reasons. And I was just between these two, and I went with Hadwin, and that's what it really hurts. If I was between, Zalatoris and Hadwin, then I'd be quite happy. Right. But what an opportunity missed to play Munoz here without a lot of risk. But I don't know, just a extremely disappointing week and one and done.
Jacob, another 0, but I don't even blame you on this one. This is all Sia's fault. You're riding the Sia mush. You cannot be picking the same guys as him.
Yeah, I need to clear with Sia, might be some collusion involved, but I think we've confirmed that Sia is indeed the mush.
You can only play guys he's already played to be safe.
Oh, that's a great tactic.
That's a good one. I've been doing an exercise, something I probably should have been doing a long time ago, which is actually writing out the names of guys I have left to use.
Yes, that's helpful.
We got some horses in the stable, so I'm not terribly concerned. I've heard
a lot of names. I mean, you start out with a lot of names.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some horses in there. I mean, there's some other things around. Nobody's taken Bryson yet. He's done with the surgery.
I saw that.
That will be interesting to see.
Maybe you could take him this week.
I'll pass on that. He hasn't done anything.
He hasn't played.
Yeah. So
when's the last time Zalatoris missed a cut? Do you know?
Let's see.
The AT&T Byron Nelson
worldwide technology. So it would have been Mayakoba.
Okay. He never misses cuts.
You do hate to see it.
Kyle, you think he's one of those hard golf course guys where, like, this is a bad week, like Hideki, the same Hideki take?
Yeah, Byron Nelson is not. It's hard though, because like that's how I feel about Hideki and JT also, or especially Hideki. And Hideki played great. So
Zalatoris had a T6 at the American Express. That's not necessarily one of the. I mean, it's a putting contest, something like that.
A putting contest,
something like that.
Golf is so weird, man. None of it makes any sense. For all the peacocking Mark was doing, he got $20,209 from Johnny Vegas, who I honestly, when I checked, he was T77. The fact that he finished T59, I'm actually pretty impressed with. So Mark technically retains his lead at the top, but I don't know how much boasting I'd be doing with Johnny Vegas.
Do you have any horses left, Rick?
Don't worry about my horses. I got Smarty Jones left. I got Rich Strike left. I could do it from all different angles here, but
Rich Strike is not who you want to be playing at the PGA.
that's who you got left in this table.
Quick word of advice: Rich Strike is also not who you want to be backing in the Preakness because he's not even going to run.
I saw that.
That's pretty rare, right?
It's like Phil at the PGA, not playing. Just I'm out. I know I won last time, but I'm out of here.
No thanks. Coach had himself a week. Had Davis Riley in the one and done. T9, Greg, 247,000. You sign me up for that from Davis Riley before the year starts. I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm not sure what he has left. Why he went that way. If he just felt that strongly about Davis Riley. But it's a great pick, and the kid's so talented. He's so good. I would wonder from Coach what made him think that this was the week for him, because his talent is clear. The upside is extremely high with him, but you know what? I wonder why he thought this was the week. I'd be curious to know.
To answer your question, Kyle, I don't have much left. I have Morikawa, I believe. I have Bryson, obviously. That's kind of it.
I've got a Brooks problem because I have Brooks and I don't know what to do with him. I don't know what he's gonna do.
I have Brooks as well.
We had this problem last year.
Yeah, it's tough.
I have Zalatoris left. I have.
Are we playing Go Fish or what?
Yeah, just keep going. Did I use Rory? Okay, I used Rory. Well, you know who I used this week, gentlemen? His name is Jordan Spieth. He earned me nearly $1 million, $991,900. I now get to 5.7 million. I'm within 30,000 of Coach and $1 million of Mark. I'm obviously thrilled.
And you should be. You're right back in the mix. I'm not sure what you have left.
What are we going to do next week? We cannot let Mark win this thing.
We can't let Coach finish second.
Yeah, the guys who will never let us hear the end of it are 1 and 2. Like we need to figure something out.
We got to chase him down.
That's right. We win and we're just go about our business like we've been there before. They act like they, they act.
Well,
like,
Kyle, we have been there before.
I know they act like Rich Strike. They don't know what to do after winning the Derby.
They start biting. They start biting us. They start biting all the other
competitors. Yeah,
it is surprising too because Mark's taken down Rob Bolton.
The Bolton Slayer.
Is that on his LinkedIn? You think?
Should be. What's first? What's first next week? It's got to be like 2.5, 2.7.
Are we going to do the live golf events?
Well, you better start campaigning for it right now.
I was about to pop in earlier and say, who do you have earmarked for Pumpkin Ridge? Because I mean,
when
that'll throw the tables upside down. I haven't used Kevin Na, so whenever he gets 6 million for coming T5, Kokrak. I haven't used Kokrak either.
Westy.
Martin Keimer is trending.
Oh, Martin Keimer.
When one of those guys wins me $4 million, it's going to be great.
4 million for I would say making the cut. There is no cut. 4 million for T10. You're in the money.
Last year's winner share was 2.1, so it's probably something like that.
I don't know. It might have gone up.
I don't know. Mark, Coach, Rick, Jacob, Greg, fans, Kyle, Sia is the order of the one and done after the AT&T Byron Nelson. Gentlemen, we are in PGA Championship week, but if you have any final thoughts on the Byron Nelson, or if you have anything you want to get out ahead of for the PGA Championship, now is the opportunity.
I got 2 things.
Okay.
One, this is more of a confession, Rick. I've kind of gotten back into baseball recently.
Okay, I love this. What prompted this?
I read Joe Pita's Trading Bases book.
That'll do it.
The gambling Wall Street baseball book.
Yeah.
And I've been watching this YouTube channel, Foolish Baseball. Have you heard of this?
He's the best.
It's so good.
He's the best.
I feel like a closet baseball fan right now, even though I've been a baseball fan for my entire life. So
what you love about Foolish Baseball, I imagine, is that he is like the nerdy equivalent, like he's like us, but he's the nerdy guy who finds all the things that nobody cares about in baseball, makes a video about it. It's interesting. He's got this dry humor. It's great.
It's very nostalgic because it's I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like when Troy Tulowitzki was awesome. Like that was when I was kind of still playing, whatever. And then my second thing is I read Shipnuck's Phil book, and it is unbelievable. Like the Phil comments about the Saudi League will get all the attention, but there's so many great stories and quotes in that book. Like everybody needs to read it. It's fantastic. And it's like well done. It's not skewed to one side or the other. He doesn't lionize Phil. He doesn't like destroy him. He's just like, here's all the stuff. And it makes you feel like a lot of complicated things about him. Like he's Tiger. I feel like I like kind of know what he's about, and Phil, I'm like, I have no idea. Like I have no clue what he's about, and I don't know if he knows what he's about, which makes for a super interesting book. So everybody should go read it.
I've got mine pre-ordered, so I think I get it Tuesday. They do pre-order day delivery, I believe. So I think I get it on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Greg, what's new with you? Have you found a new spark in your life? Are you back into something you used to be? Are you taking up knitting?
No knitting, sadly. No, not a lot new in my life. Well, I mean, every week is new here, right? So covering the Byron Nelson is like this whole brand new gem that we get to uncover. And the PGA is the same thing. So all that's going on, which is great. The stuff away from work is great too. But I will say this event I thought was really cool, and I really like the field. And I'm getting a sense that players are getting more interested in playing the week before a major.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the future, those events that it used to be, you look at the schedule and you'd say, oh, that event that's too bad the week before a major. But I think they're really picking up, and the interest level picks up because it's the week before a major. So it's very cool. I think that the schedule is kind of changing as player priorities change, which is really neat to see. And I can't wait to get all into Southern Hills next week, figure out what this place is all about, because I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
This goes to everyone out there. One of the best things on the internet is when Golf Digest does the every shot from series on YouTube, where they take the drone over these courses and they break it all down. They just released a couple of days ago the Southern Hills video, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
I've got it bookmarked. Andy Johnson of the Fried Egg also did like a whole what changed in the redesign thing. So that one's really good also. Both of those are fantastic.
Yeah, great stuff out there. All right, gents. Well, Monday, DFS preview. Tuesday, mega preview pod, round by round recaps, and also some other fun stuff mixed in that we will announce, I suppose, at some point. So keep an eye out for that. Producer Jacob does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme is available on Twitter at TheRealGFD. Kyle Porter can be found at Kyle Porter CBS, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.